everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of Gorilla Whale, the Godzilla Watch-Along podcast. I am your kaiju consultant, Kevin Carpenter.
And I am a podcaster, Kayla Knudsen.
And, and today we are talking about 2021's Godzilla versus Kong.
Which features podcasters. Well, one podcaster.
I love the podcaster character of Bernie Hayes. And my favorite Monsterverse moment is with him in the next movie. But first, we got to talk about Godzilla vs. Kong, which is the culmination of the American Monsterverse. This is the Avengers of the Monsterverse, because the original concept for this was announced in October 2015 after Godzilla 2014 made bank, even though it wasn't that good of a movie, at least in my opinion. But after that movie came out, and it turns out Godzilla could still sell tickets, especially in America, they're like, okay, let's do a Monsterverse, because the MCU also worked. So we're going to do a Kong movie, we're going to do another Godzilla movie, and then we're going to do the Godzilla versus Kong movie. And then after that, we'll figure it out if the Monsterverse movies are still making money. And they did, and now they're still making Monsterverse movies. So, this movie was directed by Adam Wingard, and the reason Adam Wingard got the job here, so according to an interview that he had with Slash Film, Wingard said somehow Peter Jackson had seen an early version of his film You're Next, the horror movie that he made in 2013. And Peter Jackson, in 2005, directed the King Kong remake, which we actually have a bonus episode about that. In our bonus episode playlist, you can listen to Kayla and I talk about it, along with episodes about the original King Kong, the Mothra movie, Attack of the 50-Foot Woman, Pacific Rim, Cloverfield, etc. by heading to our Ko-fi page at ko-fi.com/Digital Kaiju Studios. Link in the description. I got the plug-in, Kayla. We're good.
Woo!
So Peter Jackson makes King Kong in 2005. He wants to make a sequel, and he likes the horror movie You're Next, and so he thinks that Adam Wingard would be great to direct the sequel to his King Kong film, which was just going to be called Skull Island. The quote from Adam Wingard: Mary Parent, who runs Legendary now and produced this movie, was on board with that. But this movie was set up at Universal, and the King Kong rights somehow ended up at Warner Bros. That movie went to the wayside, and so did I. In a long roundabout way, I think getting that vote of confidence from Peter Jackson stuck in Mary Parent's mind, end quote. So Wingard didn't even have to pitch. It was Peter Jackson wanted him to do a King Kong movie originally, and then that movie didn't come to. And then when they were doing Godzilla vs. Kong, they're like, hey, let's get the guy who got the Peter Jackson seal of approval to make a Kong movie.
That's interesting.
Notably, he didn't do Kong Skull Island, though.
No.
Yeah. I'm not sure why exactly that was, but they got Wingard for Godzilla vs. Kong, and then he's also going to direct the next one, Godzilla x Kong: A New Empire. So when Wingard gets the Godzilla vs. Kong job, he's super excited. Reportedly, he watches every Godzilla and King Kong film.
Did he say he didn't have to pitch? That he just got offered?
He said he didn't have to pitch.
Huh.
Yeah, he got the offer. They came to him. It's just like,
I mean, that happens.
Yeah. So he's super excited. He watches every Godzilla and King Kong film. He cites Godzilla vs. Destoroyah and the 1976 King Kong remake as inspirations for evoking monster empathy.
That's the one we haven't watched.
Yeah. And he also cites Godzilla vs. Mothra and Shin Godzilla as inspirations for the scale of the monsters.
I think it's interesting that he cites those for the scale and nothing else.
Well, that's the quotes that I'm getting here.
Yeah.
But like that's what I'm saying. It's like this is a long running gag in this podcast where I talk about the people who get put in charge of Godzilla movies, and then they're like, yeah, I don't like Godzilla. I've never seen any of the movies. I don't understand why people like them. Anyway, I'm in charge.
Yeah.
And Adam Wingard is like, no, I did my research. Let's go.
I just think it's funny because Godzilla vs. Mothra and Shin Godzilla have been some of my favorites.
Mm-hmm.
And not because of the scale of Godzilla. And we'll get into more of maybe what I'm talking about here as we go on.
Now, I will say he cites Godzilla versus Mothra, which is the Heisei one.
Oh,
Mothra
sorry.
versus Godzilla is the Showa one.
Right.
That
Never
said,
mind.
he very well could have meant the Showa one. I don't
Yeah.
know. It is,
I
as we
mean,
have done
I think
in
my
this
big thing
movie,
is
we mix up the titles.
the biggest thing really is bringing in Shin Godzilla, but we'll get into it.
Yes,
We'll get
yes.
into it.
So we get a team of writers led by Terry Rossio. He did Disney's Aladdin, he did the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, and he also did an unproduced screenplay for 1998's Godzilla. TriStar didn't go with that, so but now he's working on a Godzilla movie that will actually come out. So we got the writers team together, we got the director together. Here's the thing: originally, this movie was slated to come out in November 2020. But due to the whole worldwide pandemic thing, it was delayed. And it would later release in US theaters on March 31st, 2021, simultaneously with the streaming service HBO Max. So, this is the big historical context on that one, is that this is one of the big movies along with Dune that was simultaneously released in theaters and in streaming services, and it made everyone behind the movie very mad.
Yeah.
We got Legendary, Universal, HBO, like they're all fighting over this decision, and ultimately they come to some like backroom deals. But this is another turning point in the movie industry.
Here's the thing. This is March 31st, 2021. We are still a few weeks out from wide vaccine rollout in the US.
Yeah.
I was working at the time. We were doing we had, mask mandates and regular checks and whatnot that we were doing. But I did not get my butt into the theaters again until after I had the vaccine because, well, one, I was working, so I was busy.
Yeah.
I remember being somewhat excited about this movie, like hearing about it and be like, oh, that sounds like a fun, distraction, essentially. Seems like that would be cool. And then I did not see it in theaters, and I did not see it until now.
But that's like the big thing. This is very clearly a movie that was made for theaters. Like this is
Oh, yeah.
big special effects spectacle. Looks huge. You want the sound system all around you.
Probably would have liked it more if I saw it in theaters.
Yeah.
But I saw it on my laptop screen, so.
Yeah. I think I saw this one in theaters. Like I put on the mask because I was like, oh, okay, I want to see the giant monster movie on the giant screen. But that's the thing. It's like,
I was like, I'm not risking getting COVID and missing work for this.
But this was one of the like flagship movies for simultaneous streaming releases because they had to figure something out during the pandemic, and that led to streaming services getting a lot of leverage, and we're still dealing with the ramifications of that even today in 2026.
Well, it is interesting to note though that Universal has announced that they're going back to a longer 7 weekend window for many of their releases, not focus features releases. Focus features, for those that don't know, are like the artsy art house ones, the smaller indies, the ones that get nominated for a lot of the Oscars. Those ones tend to do a little bit better, arguably, by being released to streaming quicker. And they tend to, at least in LA and New York, they'll still stay in theaters if they're getting awards attention. And the word of mouth that might come from, people seeing them catching them on streaming, and then, they stay in theaters a little bit longer because there's award buzz, and then people end up going to go see them. Or it's just that people weren't going to go to the theater for that movie, but they are willing to see it on their laptop screens or their little TVs versus like the bigger blockbuster movies that do well in theaters and are being rushed to streaming. So Universal is finally reversing that because they're like, hey, wait a minute. That's how we make money.
Yeah. And streaming notoriously, you can hide how many people are actually seeing it. You don't have box office numbers. I will say the simultaneous stream release didn't hurt the box office for this movie, at least as much as you would think. It was the 8th highest grossing film of 2021 with a worldwide gross of $470 million.
That's not bad.
That's not
I mean,
bad.
that's not great. But when we take into effect that the 2021 box office was severely hurt by COVID, I'm not going to hold that against the movie.
But, like this was the movie that was like, okay, we're going to do this. This is the culmination of our Monsterverse plans. And then depending on the success of this, we'll determine if we do more Monsterverse. And then we get Godzilla x Kong New Empire, the upcoming Godzilla x Kong Supernova. We have 2 seasons of Monarch.
Yeah, I mean, clearly it did well enough to keep the franchise going. It didn't crater it.
So I do need to say this because this is going to be the thesis of our episode. The original King Kong versus Godzilla was a movie about the horrors and danger of spectacle.
I love it. It also has a slapstick subplot.
Yes. And then the Monsterverse Godzilla versus Kong. First off, Godzilla gets the top billing, but also it is spectacle. This is pure in your face spectacle.
It's a little bit of a nothing burger of a movie in terms that it's all junk food, no substance.
A review I saw this movie. Normally I would say a review after we go over the summary, but I really want to talk about it now. So Richard Roper of the Chicago Sun-Times gave the film 3 out of 4 stars.
And wow.
Yeah, right? Quote, Godzilla vs. Kong is the kind of movie you can pretty much forget about almost instantly after you've seen it. But it's also the kind of movie that makes you forget about everything else in your life while you're watching it.
That's certainly a kinder review than some of the others I saw, which included delivering squarely on its title, Godzilla vs. Kong swats away character development and human drama to deliver all the spectacle you'd expect from giant monsters slugging it out. I believe the Wrap said that they've given up on everything but the monster fights.
Mm-hmm.
Which, yes, and listen, that's clearly what the movie was going for, and thus it was successful in that regard. My favorite movies are always the ones that have good characters and human drama. So, thank God this movie was under 2 hours.
Yeah, right.
I did start falling asleep at the end, I will say. It was getting a little late. It was another CGI monster fight in a movie full of CGI monster fights. And I was starting to, again, if I saw it in a theater, I probably would have responded better to it.
Mm-hmm.
And it would have been, because it's a movie that was made for the theaters. But it lost my attention because the spectacle, pure spectacle, does not hold as much interest to me as a movie watcher. That is my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
That's just, everybody comes to movies wanting, like, different things. And I eventually was like, another fight.
but that's what I'm saying is this movie is very much a branching point now to define the American Monsterverse versus the simultaneous Japanese Godzilla movies like Shin Godzilla and Godzilla -1, which take a more character-focused, more serious tone approach to these movies, while the Monsterverse gets the professional wrestling big spectacle corner. And like I said, King Kong versus Godzilla was a critique of spectacle.
Yeah.
Godzilla versus Kong, pure spectacle.
Yeah.
If you're buckled up for the roller coaster, this movie's a great ride.
It's shot like a roller coaster. Like, a lot of the camera work reminded me of the camera work you see in the rides, like the VR, or not like the rides at Universal, where it's not actually like a true roller coaster. It's all the screens. It was exactly like that. Like, I literally was sitting there watching this, like, I feel like I should be strapped in at Universal getting motion sickness.
And the design of the heave vehicle, the one they used to get to the Hollow Earth, looks like something you would, like a roller coaster.
This movie is built to make a tie-in roller coaster at Universal.
Yes.
However, WB owns it and apparently is not interested in licensing the ride to, well, maybe they are and it just hasn't been developed yet.
I cannot remember.
I mean, WB licensed the amusement park rights to Universal for Harry Potter.
Mm-hmm.
So it's possible that we might see eventually some sort of Godzilla versus Kong ride. Who knows, though, it looks like, right now it hasn't fully gone through, but it looks like Paramount might buy WB, and Paramount said that they want to build a amusement park either at Paramount or WB. As somebody who works on these lots and lives in LA, if you put an amusement park, there's no room for an amusement park in Paramount, first off. There's absolutely no room. It is smack dab in the middle of Hollywood. It's already a pretty small lot. So you would have to, are you going to demolish Paramount and turn it into an amusement park ride? Which, hate that idea.
Mm-hmm.
And it would be incredibly congested. But even if you bought up the houses in the neighborhoods nearby and then built a park there, horrible idea. It's incredibly congested. Doing that in WB, slightly better idea. And people could do like a whole thing where they do Universal and WB in like one weekend. but I still don't love it.
I can't remember if I mentioned this in the Shin Godzilla episode, so audience, forgive me if I'm retreading old territory, but they did make a recent Godzilla like motion picture amusement park ride in Japan where it was Shin Godzilla is attacking the city and the characters from Neon Genesis Evangelion get into their giant robots to fight Shin Godzilla.
So it's Pacific Rim.
Yes. And then Shin King Ghidorah shows up and they have to team up with Shin Godzilla to fight Shin King Ghidorah, and the cart is moving around, dodging the monsters. It's very cool.
I think one of the other things too I want to say, because I'm about to be like, I've already like said this, and I might be in a polarizing position with much of our audience in terms of me being like, it's just another CGI fight sequence. People are going to be like, oh, Kayla just doesn't like action movies. Incorrect. I love John Wick. It's like the fight sequences, the choreography, it's like a fucking ballet to me. I think that there's a lot of storytelling and character that comes through in those fight sequences. I think that they keep the plot moving very well. They are like a good musical song and dance number that progresses the story. Those are the action sequences in John Wick. I also love the fight sequences between, when we talk CGI fight sequences, I love the fights in Pacific Rim. I think they're great. A lot of those fight sequences in Pacific Rim are really about the Jaeger pilots and their relationship to each other and their characters that is happening simultaneous to the fight. So there's a lot you are very much invested in that because you're very invested in what's going on with those characters in those fights. This did not have that. This was just an exciting fight. But when you keep having these exciting fights, CGI fights, where they're smashing shit and there's not a lot of like true weight to it in terms of what's happening to characters that we are invested in or anything like that, eventually I'm like, we've seen one, we've seen them all, and it begins to lose me. Not everybody feels that way. I'm sure a lot of people really liked it and it was very entertaining to them. That's great. I'm just saying, like, that's not something that is super mega appealing to me as a viewer. And so this movie, it was fine. But I was more interested in Millie Bobby Brown's subplot than I was in what was going on with Godzilla versus Kong.
See, it's interesting that you're like the CGI fights, you are more invested in the characters, because I like that Wingard cited monster empathy as something he was wanting to make important during these fights. If you notice, they change how Kong's face looks between Kong Skull Island and Godzilla versus Kong, so that way Kong could emote.
Yeah.
And there was behind the scenes rumors that Toho wanted Godzilla to not emote at all because they want him to be a big, godlike, non-human creature. And Wingard was like, no, we're going to give Godzilla facial expressions.
Yeah. And I'm not saying...
I think the monsters are really cool characters in this movie. The human characters suffer, but the monster characters get great characterizations.
I didn't connect with them. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. Like, I just didn't connect. Like,
I'll be on top of the Empire State Building with Monsterverse Kong and see the humanity within him. That's fine.
I'm not saying they didn't show humanity in him. They had this whole subplot with the little girl. Like, you could clearly see his bond. I just didn't connect with it as much as I did with Kong and other movies, maybe. Or also Godzilla's motivations were pretty much, I am the alpha.
Yeah.
Okay. Like, I mean,
Godzilla loves to fight. It's the clearest in the Monsterverse Godzilla.
I know, but like that's not necessarily something that I am 100% invested in.
Okay.
And like Godzilla's entire motivation throughout the movie is basically proving his own supremacy.
Yeah.
That's it. Which, if you're a Godzilla fan and you're like, Godzilla is the S tier kaiju who is supreme, yeah, you're going to be into that because you're like, yeah, I want Godzilla to like, prove his supremacy. But to me, like, Godzilla's motivations in 1954 or in Shin or -1 aren't him proving his own supremacy. It's him reacting to the consequences of, like, what humanity has done to it's a force of nature. It's a global warming. It's a nuclear blast. He's a reflection of humanity's issues. That's not what's going on here. That's fine. Like, that's just not what I'm into. That's,
I think we'll get into more of the world building in Godzilla Kong New Empire where Monsterverse Godzilla can be seen as a metaphor of how the world just needs to live around nuclear weapons. How there's just this like big force that you can't fight, but you can try to fight anyway, but you still have to just like measure your world around it rather than being able to destroy it entirely. And I do kind of like this simplistic characterization of Godzilla will take on all comers kind of thing. But yeah, let's get into the movie itself.
Yeah.
I think once we get into the summary, there's a lot more that we can touch on. So we start off Kong's morning routine. He wakes up on the island, goes out into a waterfall, takes a shower. He meets deaf Iwi girl Gia, who made a little Kong toy of him, and it's really cute. She like took some dirt and put some twine around it to make it look like Kong. And
It's not dirt. It's like a wood. It's a wooden.
I thought it was like clay or something like
No,
that.
I think it's like a little wooden model.
Well, she made a little toy of Kong, and Kong like notes her and very clearly likes her and likes the toy. He's got a very expressive human face. He has a beard now. This is also Kong Skull Island was, I mean, this is sometime after the Vietnam War. This is now modern day. So Kong is not only, he has a beard.
It's been like 40 plus years.
Yes, he's grown. He is now much bigger than he was in Kong Skull Island. So that way he can match Godzilla.
Yeah.
And then he takes a tree and he files off all the branches to make a little spear, and then he throws it into the sky, and boom, it hits a holographic sky screen, Chicken Little style.
Crazy that you did Chicken Little. It's Truman Show.
Chicken Little also had the little sky hexagons.
Yeah. No, but I mean, like with all of they show us before he pierces the sky, they show us a security camera.
Fine, Truman Show style.
No, I'm not like saying, it's just funny that was your reference and I was thinking Truman Show and you were thinking Chicken Little. So, I think it's just funny.
But that's the thing. Kong is in a sky dome. It is a little Kong Skull Island enclosure.
He's on a giant volume stage.
Because Skull Island is now just destroyed. The storm that had continually kept it from the rest of the world came into the island, perhaps because of climate change, perhaps because of the nuke that went off in Boston due to the Godzilla King of the Monsters. Anyway, Skull Island is pretty much destroyed from an eternal storm. Monarch spent the resources to create the giant dome to keep Kong in, but they say offhandedly that the entire Iwi tribe is dead.
Okay.
They had all the time in the world to protect Kong, but they couldn't evacuate the Iwi tribe.
What the fuck?
So an entire culture is gone.
What the fuck? Like, why? I don't understand why. Now, of course, we don't get an exact timeline on events, but given that this structure is here and it's a very decent, I mean, yes, he can throw a tree and break the panels, and he has begun doing that.
Mm-hmm.
But given how sophisticated this structure is, how big this structure is, the fact that it is like fully staffed, how the fuck did they have time to build this around Kong or in such a way that they could then put Kong inside of it before the storm overtook the island, but they couldn't evacuate the Iwi? Or the Iwi were uninterested in evacuation, which is almost a worse implication. Like, what the fuck? You just didn't know what to do with these native characters, so you decided to, like, write them out of the movie in a way that feels worse, almost, than any other version of them.
Well, they did
They kept one of them.
They kept
I'll
one
get
of
to
them.
that.
Yep.
Two, if this perpetual storm has overtaken the island and wiped out the Iwi people and was such a bitch to get in and out of in Kong Skull Island, there's absolutely no noise is made about getting in and out of Skull Island in this movie. Getting in and out of this hurricane. They can just do it. They can just get in and out of this hurricane with absolutely no issues now. They have to be, I mean, they literally do it in the movie. They all leave. Like, they can get Kong out of here. So the storm actually doesn't matter, even though that's ridiculous. But we also have a little girl in a puffer jacket in Antarctica later on in the movie with no gloves and whatnot, and that's fine. So this whole movie, listen, I can buy Kong, I can buy Godzilla, I can buy the fucking Hollow Earth. But there's a lot about this movie that is crazy in the like, wait, what do you mean? What do you mean? We send a Wi-Fi signal from the center of the Earth to the surface of the planet, and I can't even get a fucking cell signal in a parking garage. Like, there's a lot going on in this. Like, this is what I mean. When the movie literally cares about nothing except Kong and Godzilla fighting, and the way that they get to it is so clunky and, like, crazy that I'm just like, okay, whatever. We don't care. We just don't care about anything other than making excuses for Godzilla and Kong to fight 3 times. And then the Iwi girl. So she's Gia, the actress who plays her, she's very cute. I like that she has this bond with Kong. I also think it's interesting that she's deaf, and they do a lot of fun sound design around her being deaf. With the natives being mute in Kong Skull Island, I am now wondering, was everybody like deaf mute? Possibly? We'll never know because they killed everybody off.
Yep.
Now I know, delete your comments. I know that it's because they want Gia to be the last of her kind, quote unquote, just like how Kong is the last of his kind, and they are relics of a dying world, which is also dangerous to talk about native people as relics of an old world. They live in the modern world just like you and me. Like, they're only, quote unquote, like, you can only say that they are of a lost world because of colonization, wiping them all out. But don't worry, guys, it wasn't colonization this time. It was a hurricane. Monarch just let them all die. Like, crazy. And it didn't really, I don't think it had to be like this. Is like, and again, it doesn't have to be like this. The filmmakers are making choices.
You can see the decision-making process, though, because they want to get Kong off of Skull Island so he can fight Godzilla. And then they want to end with Kong in the Hollow Earth.
Yeah.
So that means that they need to get rid of Skull Island. And it's bad the way they do it.
I just don't understand why they couldn't. I mean,
it is also messed up that the single remaining Iwi girl has been adopted by white woman Dr. Eileen Andrews.
It's... Yeah, I mean, like, why isn't it Iwi scientists that have, like, worked with Monarch now that Monarch came to the island and found them? Like, it's been 40 years. One of the Eevee kids, like, I don't know. Like, it's just clunky, to be generous. And the other thing, too, is in Kong Skull Island, they're like, oh, we can't, kill Kong or trap Kong because Skull Island is a hellmouth from the center of the earth where all of these monsters are coming out of it. And Kong is the only stopgap between the monsters that are worse underground coming out onto our world. But then the hurricane has overtaken Skull Island, which theoretically would take care of that monster problem.
Yeah.
But they're still keeping Kong alive and pouring all of these resources into keeping Kong alive and keeping him caged so Godzilla doesn't come for him. Like, the whole thing was that Kong is like a protector. Mm-hmm. But now Kong isn't protecting anybody because they have him all caged up.
They identify Kong as an alpha. And so they say multiple times throughout the movie that if Kong leaves Skull Island, then Godzilla is going to use his I wanna fight senses and immediately try to kill Kong, which he does in the movie.
Yeah.
But they're
I just don't understand why that's humanity's problem at the end of the day, unfortunately.
Because every time 2 giant monsters fight, thousands of people die.
Yes, but if they were to fight, say, on the island in the middle of the ocean with the tribe that Monarch already said was expendable and let die.
Well, here's the thing, though. We get into the opening credits, which gives us the montage of exposition. We see a bunch of ancient art of Godzilla and Kong fighting. They have been ancient enemies as depicted by mythology throughout the ages. We also get the Skull Island storm came in exposition. That's why I said it's very aside what happens to Skull Island and the Iwi people. But after the big opening credits, we get into the movie proper.
Yeah.
By the way, we're now in this movie, and the next movie is what I love about the Monsterverse, the insane world building, because we're in a different world. Everyone knows that giant monsters exist, and Godzilla does not just go away. Sometimes Godzilla just hangs around in populated areas, and people just have to work around that. And
he must be doing crazy things to the fishing industry.
We saw in the post-credits scene, which you didn't see, actually, in Godzilla King of the Monsters.
Not addressed in Godzilla vs. Kong, though, which doesn't have a poster sequence or a post-credit sequence. And for that, Adam Wingard, you shall see heaven.
Actually, yeah.
And for that, no.
I have that in the fun facts. So there's no post-credit scene.
I scrubbed through the credits to make sure because I was like, Kevin's not going to give me another time. But Adam Wingard shares my belief in that post-credit sequences are unnecessary.
Well, specifically, in an interview with Collider, Adam Wingard believed post-credit scenes were primarily for setting up future movies.
That's true.
He believes in them, but only for setting up future movies. And he stated, quote, "I think the Monsterverse is at a crossroads where audiences need to vote if they want to see another one of these films before they continue. So I think it's better not to back yourself into a corner to a certain degree. It makes sense that we don't have a post-credit scene." So he doesn't believe that post-credit scenes are entirely unnecessary. They're just unnecessary if you're not setting up the next movie.
I know, but that's why I think they're unnecessary. It's because I agree with him. You shouldn't just be... How many Marvel post-credit sequences never panned out?
Yeah, that's fair.
And it puts an egg on Marvel's face for doing that.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because fans are like, but you promised us this and then you never gave us that.
Yeah.
Because they pivoted. And it's not necessarily a bad thing that they pivoted. But it is
get annoying
egg
after
on the face.
Fifth character they introduced that we're never going to see again.
And then it discredits Marvel's ability to, deliver what fans want or storytelling, blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, it's just not a good idea. I think that post-credit sequences should be fun gags. If you're going to include them, it should be just a fun little gag to reward people for sitting through the credits. Like Ferris Bueller's, "You're still here? What are you doing? The movie's over. Go home." Like, that I'm fine with. Like, those sort of things. But if it's important to the story you're telling, it should be in the movie proper. I will allow, they do like the fancy credits right after the movie is done. They'll do like fancy credits, and then maybe there'll be another scene, and then the crawl starts. That's a gray area. Like, if it's good, if that's a gray area. I'm like, well, if it's really good, then it's fine. But otherwise, I'm like, if it's supposed to be in the movie, it should be in the movie. Otherwise, it's a gag.
Did you hear that, superfan Dean Devlin? Write all that down. Kayla has firm opinions on.
I don't think that Dean Devlin has done movies with post-credit sequences.
I don't know. I just like like talking directly to our superfan Dean Devlin, who is listening to every one of your criticisms.
I know. I do also just want to point out to you, he's a producer. He's not like a writer or a director. I mean, he might, if he was producing a movie, theoretically, he'd be like, I really want us to have that. Like, he could fight for that theoretically, but he's not like a writer or a director. That would be more involved probably in that decision. I mean, I guess Kevin Feige is the one that was demanding all of the post-credit sequences, but whatever. Enough about post-credit sequences. Yes. Get into the Nothing Burger movie.
Well, we're about half an hour in. We front-loaded a lot of our analysis, but we haven't gotten past the opening credits and the summary, so let's go. So we meet Bernie Hayes, the host of the Titan Truth podcast, and he continually posts episodes about how he has gone undercover with Apex. The Apex
Again,
Corporation.
What the fuck?
Which, it's so funny. Like, I think the idea is that no one listens to his podcast except for Millie Bobby Brown. So he can post episodes about how he's undercover with this giant corporation trying to bring them down from the inside.
I just don't understand how I feel like the security, I mean, they must have Google alerts going for Apex, and nobody at all has flagged that this guy has dozens, hundreds even, of episodes where he has talked about being undercover at Apex Cybernetics, absolutely breaking his NDAs.
Yeah.
Like, it's a little... I mean, I guess if they had done just a little bit of work of showing that this podcast is maybe a little hard to get to, or him being a little bit more shady about where he's undercover or something. But it's again, the movie doesn't actually care about any of that, so it produces us something that doesn't really make sense and is like, don't worry about it, and continues on. And I'm just like, but what?
I will say it does. There is a lot of strength to this actor's performance, because the concept of haha funny conspiracist was already played out in 2021 after a lot of those guys gained power. And rewatching this movie in 2026, super played out. Like, I'm looking at
The
Bernie.
fluoride joke?
Yeah, the fluoride joke. Oh, do you drink tap water? No, it's like, okay, Alex Jones.
Yeah. It's
So,
we're just in a day and age. It's not the 90s and X-Files. Conspiracy theorists have a different flavor to them now.
Yeah. Hey, Bernie, what's your opinion on Jewish people? Anyway, but here's what I'm saying. It's like the strength of his performance is like Bernie Hayes is still my favorite character.
Yeah,
in this movie.
the actor really makes it work. Even if my credulity is at a sky high. This is my favorite part of the movie is the Bernie Madison subplot.
Yes. He also, so at one point he tries to get into Apex Cybernetic Systems and he weaponizes being annoying to a security guard. So the security guard will leave the conversation and then he plugs in the USB and tries to get all the files.
It's so good.
And then Godzilla attacks. Atomic breath everywhere. He blows up the facility. Bernie is almost caught in the atomic breath, but he's so close that he sees 2 other people get wasted by it. So Bernie has cancer.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Once again, the liberal use of atomic breath in these movies as just a very, very concentrated destruction beam that has absolutely no side effects aside from the fact that it's called atomic breath. And canonically, Godzilla is always making a Geiger counter go absolutely cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
He literally melted a city through his radiation last movie.
But the fact that, Bernie can be as close to the atomic breath as he is and not be melting halfway through this movie. Okay, again, the movie doesn't give a shit about it.
But we're following the Godzilla path. Like, this is so true to the Showa movies, where we started out serious, and now we're in full professional wrestler goofy territory.
I know. But you guys know how I feel about those movies.
I'm having so much fun.
Kevin's having fun.
So Bernie, by the way, audience, I'm making a joke. The movie, of course, is not like, oh, Bernie, you have cancer now.
Yeah, no, that's the problem. Bernie should have cancer. This movie is uninterested truly in consequences.
The facility blows up. Bernie sees that there's a strange machine in the wreckage of the facility, and then he gets out of there. So everyone hates Godzilla again, because to everyone else, Godzilla is just showing up in cities and blowing stuff up randomly.
Yeah, they have no idea that a tech billionaire CEO has put their lives in danger for his own selfish ambitions. We'll get to that. That's the best thing. That's the only thing this movie has to say. And they skip over it so quickly.
So Madison, Millie Bobby Brown from the last movie. So she is a fan of the Titan Truth podcast.
I love her. I love her so much in this movie.
And she has her own conspiracy board.
She's like an alt teen.
Yeah, she believes that Godzilla is destroying Apex facilities for a reason. And she's trying to tell her shitty dad, Mark Russell, who is now the director of Monarch. He has learned nothing from the previous movie, and also he does not show up in this movie.
He doesn't do anything in this movie.
He shows up at the beginning when he tells Madison, I don't care, I'm working. And then he shows up at the end of the movie, and that's pretty much it.
He does nothing to the plot.
So no one believes Madison, but she knows one person who will believe her. The conspiracy theorist podcast guy. Let's go find him.
I love this. We'll get more. I just want to talk all about them, but we'll go in chronological order. Kevin, carry on.
So, speaking of the villains earlier, we get a scene of Apex CEO Walter Simmons, very stock standard, slicked back, graying hair with a cane CEO guy, and CTO Ren Serizawa. I'll talk about him in just a moment after I discuss this scene.
Criminally underutilized.
So the two of them go to the Denham University of Theoretical Science.
Hey, Denham.
Yeah. Hey.
Carl Denham.
Ah. Right. And they meet with geologist Dr. Nathan Lind. Dr. Lind wrote the book on the Hollow Earth, which they have been setting up in the previous 2 movies. And I completely forgot about that when I was watching this in theaters. But watching the movies back to back now, I'm like, oh, hey, they did actually put the work in for the Hollow Earth. Imagine that. But his brother led an expedition where he was killed by the gravity inversion. So CEO Walter has made a sci-fi vehicle that could counter the gravity, the Hollow Earth Aerial Vehicle, or HEAVE. And it is shaped exactly like one of those Universal roller coaster rides that could fit up to 8 people. Keep your arms and feet inside the ride at all times.
Fine by me. You want to give me mumbo jumbo fantasy, say it's science fiction and call it good? Sure, I'm fine.
But this is also true to the Godzilla franchise because, hey, here's just a hollow Earth.
No,
the world underneath.
I can buy, okay, this is a universe where hollow Earth is a thing. Mm-hmm. And we have magically made these like vehicles that you don't have to worry about the gravity inversion. And gravity inversion is this whole thing, blah, blah, blah. I'm fine with all of that. I can buy into these big things. It's all the other little things that I'm like, what? But the cracks and all of it. If you are going to do something as crazy stupid as giant monsters fighting each other and the hollow Earth theory, everything else around it should be like working because then I can buy into it. But when you do that and then you do all of these other little things that don't add up and make sense, that's where you begin to lose me.
And here's where we get a bit where the plot is straining to justify King Kong fighting Godzilla, which I don't think you need to go to this much effort.
They really don't. But you know how you want King Kong to fight Godzilla? King Kong has become big enough to become an alpha threat, and Godzilla marches on Skull Island.
Yeah.
That's all you had to do to get them to fight. And then you have like a monarch camp that has set up on Skull Island, you know, and is where like with the Iwi, you know, and the Iwi tribe is there too. And they're like, oh fuck, Godzilla is coming. And then they decide maybe, oh, this is how we're going to, you know, they're going to fight. And maybe it's a knockdown, drag out fight, something of a tie or whatever. Neither of them are going to take each other out. But this is like, Monarch is, you know, maybe somebody, the military, whatever, is like, oh, what if we can use this as a trap, or they're trying to come in and bomb the island again and take out both of them, and that doesn't work. And, you know, maybe King Kong is big enough to swim or whatever. And
you already have the skull crawlers coming from underground, so why not make the entrance to Hollow Earth something that Monarch is digging on Skull Island?
Yeah, maybe they get through the Hollow Earth, we're in the Hollow Earth, and then they pop out in Tokyo.
Yeah.
And now they're laying waste to another city. Like, you could have done all of that. And instead, we do this really convoluted thing. And I'm very curious about how we got there. But, like, behind the scenes, like, why is this what we're doing?
There were some rewrites of this movie.
But I just feel like they could have fought at Skull Island, tumbled into the Hollow Earth, gotten separated, climbed out, got King Kong's in New York, Godzilla's in Tokyo. Simultaneous destructions. U.S. and Japan is like, fuck. Or maybe King Kong's in Tokyo and Godzilla's in New York.
Oh, that'd be fun.
Swap it. And then one of them starts, you know, Godzilla
sort of
leaves.
a Jimmy Timmy Power Hour situation.
Yes. And then they begin to fight, you know. They get together and in San Francisco and fight.
Yeah.
Kong rampages across the U.S. or something. Or they capture him and put him on a train or something like that to take him to the West Coast to try and get him back to Skull Island.
There's a lot of simpler ways
and
to
then
do
Godzilla
this.
goes across the Pacific, and then they lay waste to Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And there's a shot of the two of them fighting with the Hollywood sign in the background, and it's a fun gag for everybody.
You go.
But
why
wasn't I called about this?
But what we're doing in this movie is the CEO wants to go to the Hollow Earth to find a powerful energy source. And Dr. Lind is convinced, and he throws in some more sci-fi stuff. What if the Titans had genetic memory that drew them to where their species came from? So what if we take Kong from Skull Island, take him to Antarctica, where the Hollow Earth entrance is for some reason, and then Kong will be drawn by his genetic memory to the power source in the Hollow Earth?
Wouldn't Kong have just gone into the... But Skull Island is an entrance to the center of the Earth, so wouldn't Kong have just gone into the hellmouth there a long time ago?
Only the skull crawlers use those tunnels. Shh.
You see what I'm saying? Like, I wanted to like this. I really wanted to be into this. I just pitched you a simpler version that serves the let's get them to fight thing.
So geologist Dr. Lin talks
why does it have to be so convoluted around the fight? If the point is the fight, we could have gone to this much simpler without making me tear my hair out the whole time and distract from how you can make a simple, very simple movie that is satisfying to everybody. Why does it have to be this fucking complicated?
So Dr. Lin, the geologist, he talks to Dr. Eileen Andrews, the white woman who adopted the sole remaining Iwi child. She is heading the Monarch outpost keeping Kong. and Dr. Lind convinces Dr. Andrews to put Kong in giant chains and put him on a boat for their mission. We got it. We got Kong and the giant chains on the boat.
We could have had him on giant chains on a train as he was shipped from New York after being tranquilized and falling off of the Empire State Building, but he doesn't die because he's so big, so it's not going to kill him anymore. And then we take him across the trains because America and the cross country train trip and blah, blah.
So we got a fleet of boats. Kong is on there. We meet Apex executive Maya Simmons, who's the CEO's daughter. Don't worry about her; she's not that important. We also get
like every other character in this movie.
Yeah, she's there to fulfill a single purpose. We'll get to it later. So we also have a scene of Gia comforting Kong in the rain by touching fingers. Kong reveals he knows the sign language for home, and everyone's very surprised because it humanizes Kong. He understands minimal sign language. He has the relationship with Gia. This is great.
Yes, I like this sequence a lot.
So back to Madison. Madison and her nerdy friend Josh Valentine take Josh's brother's van on a road trip to find Bernie Hayes, the Titan Truth podcast host. They're going to find him because Bernie mentions in the podcast that he showers with bleach because he's a funny conspiracist. But aren't those so harmless?
How is he not covered in bleach burns? You can't just like shower in bleach.
Well, he probably dilutes it, but he showers in bleach to stop organic tracking. So they go to Chinatown. They have a fun little scene where a Chinatown merchant is like, "Oh, you want a bunch of bleach? Listen, I didn't think the kids would eat the laundry pods because this is 2021." Haha, reference.
Yeah.
But then they meet up with Bernie. They're in a neon Chinese restaurant. And there's so much neon in this movie. There's so much neon everywhere in this movie. I just need to say that visually. It's great.
I'm a sucker for neon, though.
Strong visual direction.
Adam Wingard, you and I in the neon, this is something we can agree on.
Actually, yeah, let me bring this up real quick. Wingard is a big fan of synthwave, video game music, and 1980s film scores.
Yep.
And he wanted the final battle to be in a, quote, synthwave-style futuristic city backdrop. So that's why we need to fight in Hong Kong.
Yeah.
Also, it's funny for Kong to fight in Hong Kong. Hey.
Yeah, I mean, I did notice. I was like, why are they going like?
But like everything else in this movie is also super neon.
We don't necessarily need like. Well, I mean, we know why Godzilla attacks Tokyo, and King Kong was literally brought to New York to be put on the biggest stage in the world at the time, Broadway. You know, so it's like these New York and Tokyo are intrinsically tied to the mythology of these characters. So I was a little bit like, why are we going to Hong Kong? Like, what's the reason for Hong Kong? It's an aesthetic reason. That's fine. We don't really need like a reason, but it was something that like because this movie was full of things that was making my brain go, wait, what? I was wetting everything at this point.
Yeah.
Which is not the best.
Well, we also continue.
But it does look cool.
We continue the Godzilla tradition of setting up some weird thing at the beginning so it can be used at the end for no reason when something much simpler could have done the job. So Bernie has a flask of whiskey that he keeps in a gun holster on his chest. The flask of whiskey is to remind him of his dead wife, Sarah, and he will never drink the whiskey until he gives up on his mission.
The way that they introduce this is it's very
clunky. Like Josh is like, "Oh my God, do you have a gun?" And Bernie is like, "No, I have a flask of whiskey. Let me tell you about my dead wife." And it's like, you're the comedy character. What's going on here?
I just don't. They just wanted they were like, they needed a flask of whiskey at some point, and they probably were trying to give him more depth than just, oh, haha, funny conspiracy guy. Also, he's like always drinking. Well, he's black. Maybe we should. We don't want to accidentally say anything about, anything negative or whatever. So, like, let's give him a reason. Oh, like, he doesn't actually drink it. It's just a keepsake from his dead wife.
Yeah.
Dead wife.
It is also...
I should drink every time there's a dead wife in a movie.
It is also interesting. So the character of Josh Valentine is structurally there. Like, you can tell the purposes why he's there, even though he is not a character.
He's funny though, so
yeah,
I like that kid.
He is to bounce off of Bernie and Madison's enthusiasm over chasing conspiracy theories. He is someone that Madison can tell her plans to find the host. Yeah. And he is also there because if he wasn't there, then it would just be adult black man Bernie Hayes with white teenager Millie Bobby Brown going on this adventure. And that might make audiences uncomfortable. So we have another teenager here to balance that out.
Yeah, now there's a boy teenager, so it's not nobody on any side could get upset.
Exactly.
Because that's the whole thing. You can feel like, wait, would one side be uncomfortable about this, but would the other side be uncomfortable about this? But we have to appeal to everybody, especially conspiracy theorists.
But yeah, it's like I forgot Josh was a character after I watched this movie, and then I rewatched, and I'm like, oh, hey, yeah, he was there. And it's like I said, he's not that much of a character himself, but he is there structurally.
And to the people who might be saying, oh, it's not that deep, or you're making something out of nothing, and blah, blah, blah. The point is, like, these movies don't exist in a vacuum.
Yeah.
They exist in the context of all that came before them, and in the present that they exist in. So when I say, like, I think it's problematic that they just wiped out the Iwi tribe for no discernible reason off screen because they didn't want to deal with it anymore. Like, that feels yucky, you know? And yes, on the one hand, it makes Gia and Kong like parallels to each other. And you can say, like, well, that's what they really wanted to do. It wasn't about, you know, eradicating a native tribe. It was about making Gia and Kong like similar because, like, she's an orphan, you know? She could have been an orphan without without the entire Iwi tribe being taken out, but Kong is the last of his kind, so she has to be. And it's like that can be like, yes, I understand that that's compelling and it fills in a lot for the audience on why they might have a bond. It's still you cannot, like, it's still not in a vacuum. It's still weird and yucky, and it's like sticky, and I'm like, I don't.
And without getting into spoilers, they do try to make up for it in the next movie. But also, they did not know that the next movie would be made. So,
yeah.
Anyway. So, all right. So, Madison, Bernie, and Josh are going to break into an Apex facility. So now we have two very clear timelines going on in this movie. Like storylines.
Yeah.
So I'm just, like I did with Kong Skull Island, we have Team Monarch, which is Dr. Lind, Dr. Andrews, Gia, and they are trying to get Kong to the Hollow Earth. And meanwhile, we have Team Podcast, which is Bernie, Madison, and Josh, who are breaking into Apex and trying to figure out what they're going on.
They're trying to figure out why Godzilla attacked Apex.
Yeah, so we're going to be cutting between those two storylines as the movie goes on. So, in the Tasman Sea, Kong is on the boat, a fleet of boats escorting Kong, and Godzilla ships. And Godzilla attacks the ship Kong is on. Godzilla flips the boat, and he and Kong fight underwater. Kong's still in the big chains, and so he's having a hard time. But then Kong reflips the boat, and he tears off his chains, and he climbs back on the ship. And there's this
they let him go.
Yeah.
Alexander Skarsgård hits the button to release the chains.
Yes.
He doesn't tear him.
He tears off his neck chain, but you're right. Skarsgård does get into the fight to like get the rest of the chains off him. And so there's this very clear, like, oh shit, we are in Godzilla's home turf because Godzilla is aquatic.
Yeah.
And Kong monkey hops off of each of the naval escort ships, like
basically
little
destroying them as he does
basically destroying them. He grabs jets and he throws them at Godzilla.
It doesn't matter that there's people inside. He don't give a shit.
No, neither of these monsters care about like the people, and that's how it should be.
Yeah, no, it's kind of funny.
Kong is like Mothra in that there are very specific humanoids that he cares about, but everyone else can, they can get out of the way. Godzilla, while swimming underneath one of the ships that Kong is on, fires his atomic breath upward. We have a shot of Kong jumping out of the way with the pillar of the atomic breath shooting up behind him. And then as he goes underwater, he's fighting Godzilla. Godzilla brings him underwater to try to drown him. The humans fire depth charges to stun Godzilla. Somehow don't also stun Kong.
Thank you. I don't literally they're wrestling underwater. Oh, God, I went in with such an open heart. They are wrestling underwater and you're like, well, Kong's just gonna run out of oxygen at some point. Like, he's screwed. The humans are scrambling. Like, we have to help Kong, because at the end of the day, like, their whole thing is they're trying to use Kong to get to this energy source that the CEO has hired Alexander Skarsgård to get. And the entire time, by the way, the, like, captain of this naval ship that they are on is useless.
Yeah.
Like, he's not there. We're in a disaster situation, and he is not calling any of the shots. Instead, the scientist is the one that they're like, "How can we help Kong fight Godzilla?" And then Jane Goodall is like, "Depth charges," which, as we all know, depth charges can only selectively hurt whoever you want them to hurt. Like, they're literally, it'd be one thing if like, and again, here's something you could have done. Kong has fled, he's like jumped into the water, if it was a part where Godzilla was on one side of the ship, in one part of the ocean, and Kong is the other, and Kong is too far from he's not going to get to the ship before Godzilla gets to him, and Godzilla's going to get him in the water. Depth charge Godzilla over here on the one side. Those depth charges will affect Godzilla, and we can plausibly believe that Kong is far enough away that the depth charges don't hurt him. This disorients Godzilla enough that he decides to flee the fight. They fish Kong out of the water, and then they carry on to Antarctica. Instead, the depth charges come on both of them wrestling in the water and only hurt Godzilla.
Yeah, that would work.
Why wouldn't they hurt Kong? Again, and and I will acknowledge, I just want to acknowledge this too. It is really easy to watch a movie that is done incomplete and then say, but why didn't they do this? But why didn't they do that? And to rewrite it and make it better with 2020 hindsight. It's a lot harder to start from almost nothing and then come up with something that, is compelling and coherent or blah, 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 and like doesn't have flaws, et cetera, when you have a bunch of studios breathing down your neck and there's all of these demands and constraints, and we don't know ultimately why all of these decisions were made and how we got here. And I mean, ultimately, at the end of the day, what they wanted this movie to do was have Godzilla and King Kong fight. And they did that. And they wanted it to make money. And it did do that. So the movie was still successful. And it's really easy for me to sit on my high horse here and be like, but why didn't you write it this way? I don't know why they wrote it the way they did. Like, I just want to give that generosity to... Saying a fellow filmmaker is really pretentious. I haven't directed anything. That's the other thing, too. I'll, fully acknowledge this. Like, Adam Wingard has made more feature films than I have, but I just want, the whole point of this podcast is to be critical, and critical doesn't always mean negative, but critical analysis.
Yeah, but I cannot remember the last Godzilla movie that made you this mad.
It was Son of Godzilla maybe or something.
Maybe, I don't know, but
there's just a lot in this movie.
No, you're bringing up good points, yeah. I think this is another structural thing where they had the ending of the fight in mind, because we have, after the big explosion, which is the climactic moment of the fight, Kong climbs onto the ship. He's all right, woo! But he's also like exhausted, on his back, clearly very hurt. Godzilla is still alive, so all the ships turn off their lights and weapons in a submission display, like they did in King of the Monsters.
Smart, play dead.
So Godzilla takes that as a submission display and then leaves. So that kind of does also mess up Godzilla's motivation a little bit, because later on he fights Kong because of the whole alpha thing. But I guess Godzilla thinks that... Well, I guess, yeah, this is what also Godzilla does to the rest of the Titans as well. He's just like, hey, I'm going to show you who's boss. All right, cool. You know who's boss now. Leaves. But when Kong shows back up, he's very clearly like messing with him. So,
well, what is it supposed to...
anyway.
What is Kong supposed to do? If he shows back up and Godzilla attacks him after already, like, quote-unquote, defeating him, then why... If Godzilla can't stand to see Kong exist, like, it then implies that Godzilla just can't seem to stand Kong, then why didn't he just finish him off then and there?
Yeah.
Like...
You're right. You're right. You dissect the fight, and it's
I get what they're going for, and obviously, like, the problem is that they don't want there to be just one fight at the end, because the movie's called Godzilla versus Kong, and if they do just one fight at the end, people are going to potentially complain that they had to wait for all of this to have one fight at the end. However, I would argue that there is a world where if you made a, like, compelling and interesting narrative that featured Godzilla and King Kong throughout the movie, but then led to the end where they fight, and then you have that one big knockdown, drag-out fight, that still could have maybe worked. I mean, the fight even could have gone on for the entire third act.
Like with Tokyo SOS, where it's like the like the last 40% of that film was just one big fight.
Yeah, and
I will say they also could have given Kong his lightning powers, because as we all know, King Kong has
yes,
lightning
he
powers.
has lightning powers.
So
So but
they didn't give him that.
They didn't do that.
They gave him something
They were like,
else.
that was a little unbelievable. I mean, they have a problem where they want 3 fights. They want Godzilla to win one, they want King Kong to win one, and then they want a final one where it's like a tie, and then you can't kill either of them because we have a franchise to make here.
Yeah.
So I understand that you have.
Well, even then, they don't have a fight where Kong wins.
Didn't he kind of win the second one?
No. So I will say that Adam Wingard also said in multiple interviews that he wanted a crossover movie where there was a clear winner. He referenced King Kong versus Godzilla and how there's sort of an ambiguous ending on who won. And he was like, no, I want there to be a clear winner of who wins, and that's Godzilla. We get the scene later on, which we'll get into. But we do the
yeah, he steps on his chest.
Yeah,
I don't know why
we do the standard crossover rhythm of two characters meet, they fight, and then they have to face a greater foe, which always works.
Yeah.
But he was also like, no, I want there to be a clear winner before they get to the stage where they team up to fight a greater threat.
Yeah. Okay, my bad. I was mistaken.
No worries. You were falling asleep apparently near the end.
Well, not that far into it.
So
it was just the very, very end. It was, and I think I stayed up. It was also late at night, to be fair to the movie, and I had a very long day.
Fair enough. Let's get into the rest of the movie.
Yes.
So Team Podcast, they break into the Apex facility. Very easy to break into this corporation.
This is Millie Bobby Brown. All she does is break into secure science facilities.
Exactly.
Or out of them.
And they end up in one of those futuristic vehicles, and they contain skull crawler specimens. And then that one is sent to Hong Kong at super fast speeds. So they've hitched a ride with a ship with skull crawler eggs.
It's like a tunnel.
Purposes. Yeah, it's like a sci-fi tunnel.
High-speed train tunnel thing.
So meanwhile, Team Monarch, they bring Kong to Antarctica, where Monarch has an entrance to the Hollow Earth. Kong and a heave.
Nobody is dressed for Antarctica.
No one is dressed for Antarctica. Kong and a heave, which is the sci-fi flying vehicle, with Team Monarch in tow, they go through a warp portal to an underground world with a stone sky, giant jungles, and strange creatures. Gravity is all messed up because once you go into the Hollow Earth, it like inverts on you. But Kong is able to sustain it because he is a giant monster, and the Heave is able to sustain it because they have sci-fi technology. So we're all good.
Wait, okay, so there's a warp portal there's warp portals in the tunnels?
Yes, so this is going to be very important for the next movie. To get to all the entrances to the Hollow Earth have warp portals in them. So you go into a big hole, and then you warp, and then you enter the Hollow Earth.
But where are you warping?
Into the Hollow Earth.
But the Hollow Earth is within the Earth.
Yes.
So why are we jumping the space-time continuum?
So
isn't that what a warp portal is?
Yeah.
Like a wormhole?
So imagine you're at one end of a tunnel.
Okay.
And then there's a portal, and suddenly you're at the other end of the tunnel.
But how is it happening in the Earth? Why don't they just go through the tunnel? Is it because of the lava?
It saves time.
They could just cut.
No.
It's a movie. They could just cut.
Well, no, because it's like hundreds of miles to climb up or down those tunnels. So if you do the warp portal,
but you understand
you just cut
how
right to the Hollow Earth.
Little wormholes?
Yes, there's little wormholes all throughout the Earth that lead to the Hollow Earth. But also, if you go into the Hollow Earth, you can then use those warp portals to instantly end up on another part of the Earth. And that's going to be important for later.
Okay, so you can understand how my suspension of belief is cracked. Because there's a lot that this movie is asking us to go with. And wormholes, physics-breaking wormholes.
Yes, to go into the physics-breaking Hollow Earth.
Within the planet.
Yes.
Okay.
The planet is actually just Swiss cheesed by wormholes. Because Godzilla also uses them in King of the Monsters to go everywhere.
Like this movie, I give up.
Okay, all right. Well, we get a beautiful... Here's the thing. The Hollow Earth is beautiful. We get these cool shots of Kong like jumping off of a mountain and ending up in sort of the low gravity space between the stone sky and the jungle ground underneath him. Get these cool shots. We also get the Heave being attacked by these giant snakes with wings titans. I thought they would be called like Quetzalcoatlus or Coatls, but apparently they're called Warbats, according to the toys.
They're dragons.
Yeah, they're little dragons. Kong kills them. We get a little bit of more
Wyverns, even.
giant wyverns.
Wyverns.
Wyverns. Anyway.
I've only ever read them, Dragonology. It wasn't an audiobook.
But what's important is that with setting up the Hollow Earth, we now have set up an endless source of giant monsters. And with the warp portals, they can appear anywhere on Earth, and we can do all the globe-trotting we want. Infinite movie generator.
Okay. I liked Pacific Rim's extra-dimensional portal a lot. They could have done an extra-dimensional portal.
No, it's just an extra spatial portal. So Team Podcast ends up in Hong Kong, where they witness Apex's secret project, Mecha Godzilla.
I did think it was funny how Josh was like, it's some kind of Robo Godzilla. And then he's like, it's a Mecha Godzilla.
Which that line pisses me off, because it's like, that means the same thing.
I know.
Can you imagine you're just looking at this giant robot and then your friend is like, no, actually I have a better name for it.
I think they did that because Americans would probably call it, Americans that are unfamiliar with Mechagodzilla would probably call it Robo Godzilla.
Mm-hmm.
And Toho was like, it's not Robo Godzilla, it's Mechagodzilla. This is important for copyright.
Yes.
And thus they have to shoot it down immediately. They decide to make a joke out of it and have one character call it Robo Godzilla and be corrected. And it's like, no, it's Mecha Godzilla, because they also didn't want to do the thing where they maybe like never even said the word Mecha Godzilla, but then the audience and all of the kids who are watching this movie for the first time with little to no familiarity with Mecha Godzilla start calling it Robo Godzilla, and then we have a whole issue.
Yeah, we have to establish this as Mecha Godzilla off the beat.
So that's how they decided to do that, instead of just having him be like, it's a Mecha Godzilla.
I do like your New Zealand accent. So we're continuing the Mecha Godzilla franchise evolution. We're taking a page from Godzilla against Mecha Godzilla and Godzilla Tokyo SOS, where we have the remains of another kaiju built into the Mecha Godzilla, and that is the remaining head of King Ghidorah, which CTO Serizawa is mind-linking with Pacific Rim style in order to control the robot.
It wasn't but they didn't have the brain. It's like, it's the skull. They've stripped out the skull, and they have the skull connected, and they're drawing on like the DNA or something to do this.
No, the King Ghidorah head, the skull is haunted. Let's move on.
It's haunted, but they don't want to say that.
So, by the way, let's talk about CTO Serizawa here real quick. We're gonna talk about this character more than the actual movie itself by saying 2 sentences about him.
Oh my God.
So he is
crazy that they did this to him.
Do they mention he is the son of Dr. Serizawa from the previous 2 movies in the movie?
No.
Okay. So
at least if they did,
I was paying attention.
I don't think I fully realized. Well, I was paying attention to this movie.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's like I was specifically like, wait, do they actually say it? No.
Okay, they say his name once in the beginning.
Yes.
And I didn't have the captions on, so I was like, wait, did they say Serizawa? Didn't pause it, didn't go back, didn't check it or anything, just kept going.
Yeah.
And then I kind of I don't think they said his name again. And even if they did say Serizawa, I'm pretty sure that they never at any point in time mention that he is the Dr. Serizawa's son.
Yeah.
And then they do literally nothing with him.
Yeah.
Except make him the mech pilot for Mechagodzilla, which you're like, oh, seems cool. And then he gets killed before he can really do anything.
Yeah, this is a sin that I can't really forgive with this movie. So we have an incredibly cool, once again, we're back to Godzilla against Mechagodzilla. We have an incredibly cool premise that they don't follow up on.
And I'm very into the idea, by the way, of this dangerous tech CEO secretly building Mechagodzilla to replace Godzilla and assert his own power and control over the universe. And now he has the ultimate weapon and oh my God, like, can you think of the implications of now we're kind of getting back to the nuclear weapon metaphor a little bit.
Yeah, Apex wants to create Mechagodzilla to once again, quote, become the apex species.
Yes. It's a little Lex Luthor of them, but I'll allow it.
But Ren Serizawa is the son of Dr. Serizawa. Dr. Serizawa was sympathetic to the kaijus. His son he has a grudge against the kaijus because he believes that they took his father from him, especially Godzilla. And he is working with the bad guys to control a giant robot in order to destroy the kaijus once and for all.
I cannot...
In the novelization, of course, they give him more motivation where he is going to try to backstab the CEO guy. But
I don't think they even cover why they don't cover anything.
They don't cover anything about him.
Yeah, it's like they don't confirm who his father is. They don't talk about why he's there. He's just he's the sidekick character to our evil CEO, and then he's the pilot for the mech, and it kills him.
Yeah,
and that's it. And it's crazy because that's a very interesting, like, you could have had such an interesting section of the movie there if we were focusing on him a lot and his character and his motivations. Again, this movie, Kong Skull Island, had way too many characters, but even though they did have a lot of characters, and yeah, sure, technically they could have maybe cut some of them or whatever to fill out everybody else a little bit more, those actors that they picked were incredibly charismatic. The main ones still got quite a bit of screen time. They had clear motivations. We at least knew what they were doing on the island. Like, yeah, everybody was kind of shallow, but it still worked overall, in my opinion. This, we have a lot of characters, and none, like, I feel like they're not pulling it off the way that Kong Skull Island pulled it off.
And you have this really cool character concept that they do nothing with. And it's like, this could be the movie right here. You could have scenes of Ren Serizawa psionically mind linking with Ghidorah and sharing sympathy for a grudge against Godzilla, ultimately losing his humanity in his quest to become a greater monster than Godzilla. Like, there's something so cool right there.
Perhaps is some sort of dark parallel to the connection that Gia and Kong have, or that Millie Bobby Brown and Godzilla even have.
Yeah.
Like,
there's so much cool stuff you could have done with all of this.
There's a lot. That's the thing. I think that's the thing that, like, gets me so riled up about this movie, is that I feel like there was actually this had no business being that good kind of kaiju fight movie in there that we did not quite excavate. And I would be so fascinated to get the oral history of how this movie was made, what early drafts look like, what early pitching process worked like, what parameters they had. Because again, like, I think they had like a lot of really smart creative people working on this project. And there's all these like little kernels in there that I'm like, oh, that could be really interesting. That could be really fun. And the movie isn't interested in any of that.
Yeah.
It's just it's not even interested in moving as quickly as possible to the fights, because again, I feel like there was more expeditious ways to get there. But yeah, it's just interested in getting to these fights, and it doesn't really care about anything else. Ultimately, I think it's detriment. I think if this movie dug into Gia and Ren and Millie Bobby Brown more and how they relate to Kong and Godzilla and those legacies and the overall fight and the ultimate struggle and blah, blah, blah. And it could have been, you could have walked away and been like, damn.
And they don't even take the simplest routes to
that's
fights.
What I'm saying.
That's what we were saying earlier.
Like,
it's just a weirdly structured movie.
This is a weirdly overcomplicated movie that has very, very little depth.
Yeah.
Like, usually when a movie is really, really complicated, there's also quite a lot that it's like trying to say and trying to get out and trying to do. And it's like, you should have just picked one or two things. You know, you're overstuffing it. But this is like, there's like one thing they want to do, and it's get Godzilla and Kong to fight a bunch, and then to reveal Mechagodzilla and get Godzilla and Mechagodzilla to fight a bunch, and Kong and Godzilla to fight Mechagodzilla. But it's going the most complicated ways to go, and it's like you're losing the audience to do this.
Now, I do like this bit of world building they put in, though.
Yeah.
So, back in the Hollow Earth, Team Monarch follows Kong to an ancient monkey temple. And Kong finds corpses of ancient other Kongs and a cool light up axe that draws on the radiation that is underneath this temple. And he places the axe in a slot and it powers up a light up image of his ancestral ancient foe, Godzilla. It's so visually cool.
And they said, get those kids something that we can sell them.
Yep. Well, it's also we're expanding the Kong world building. Kong is not just, the last remaining giant monkey. He's the last remaining, as far as this movie goes, member of an ancient ape civilization.
Speaking of, this reminded me of something early in the movie where there's a scientist who we never see again talking to Jane Goodall, and Jane Goodall is talking they're like we need to. Kong is destroying his Truman Show set. We need to evacuate him, the storm, blah, 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 et cetera, et cetera. And Jane Goodall is like, we can't take Kong off of Skull Island because then Godzilla's going to come kill him. And I don't want that to happen. And this other scientist is like, you don't think the king can defend himself or something like that. But he does call him the king.
Yeah. They can't say King Kong.
Yeah.
But they can call him the king. And they can call him the king.
But they can't call him King Kong. And I think it's so funny that the way that the scientist said it implied that he believes King Kong could take Godzilla. And again, so laughable because I do remember as this movie was before this movie was coming out, all of Twitter was like, this is insane. Godzilla is taking Kong, which this movie is Godzilla's taking Kong.
Yeah.
But it's so funny in universe that this happened. Where he's like, you don't think the king can defend himself? She should have just said, he has nukes for breath.
Well, and that's...
I don't think King Kong can withstand 10,000 nukes being dropped on him over and over and over again. Eventually, the nuke is gonna get him.
Well, that's why they have to give him the magic monkey axe.
Yes, exactly.
So, I do like the framing here, by the way. Even from the beginning, when Kong takes the tree and fashions it into a spear, it establishes Godzilla has his atomic breath and his aquatic mobility and his strength, while Kong is a weapon user.
Yeah, he's a tool user, like people.
And that means that you can also sell toys with him with different accessories with each movie that comes out. So Godzilla arrives in Hong Kong, everything's super neon, super synthwave, and he senses Kong in the hollow earth. So you lost your suspension of disbelief far before this moment. But this is the point where I'm like,
Godzilla
okay,
cracking
this
the
sucks.
earth like an egg.
Godzilla fires his atomic breath all the way to the center of the earth.
And by the way, before all of this happened, Maya Simmons, remember her? Maya Simmons, the CEO's daughter?
Yes.
Whose whole thing is to be hot and threatening.
She takes some Titan plutonium.
Yeah, she uses, they get their iPhones and they scan their whatchamacallits, their gadgets, and they're capable of scanning this previously undiscovered element.
Because this is the energy source that they had to use Kong's ancestral memory to bring into the hollow earth so that way they could
power Mechagodzilla, so that they could supplant Godzilla.
Again, why?
But yes, so they scan this. Again, they are in ostensibly the center of the earth and had to go through a warp portal to get there. They scan this and then airdrop it straight to the surface. They just airdrop it to the lab in Hong Kong. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding? The fact that I saw this week after having to, for work, deal with, I was on these sound stages and I had to send pictures from the sound stages to the office. I did not have Wi-Fi. I was in Santa Clarita, so it's not like I was in the middle of nowhere. I could not get service out of a sound stage to send a photo to people who were hooked up to Wi-Fi back at the office. And you're telling me that they are airdropping an entire Element's structure
Yeah, they don't
to the surface of the Earth through a warp tunnel, apparently.
Yeah,
they had to break physics. What?
They don't even bring the Titan plutonium to power Mechagodzilla. They
No.
transfer the elemental makeup.
And then they can magically create it very quickly.
Yes.
And it'll have out of what materials?
And that's the big reason they're there, is because Mechagodzilla doesn't have a stable enough power source. He can do one laser through a skull crawler before he powers down. But now that they have the diagram of the Titan plutonium and the Hollow Earth, not any of the actual elements themselves, just a screenshot of it. They can now power Mechagodzilla.
How does that work? And again, we're dealing with a Hollow Earth and giant monsters. I understand. But oh my God, you couldn't have transported the plutonium at least and plugged it in and be like infinite power. So like come on.
And then, even though we have established, it's like, okay, we have the warp portals to the Hollow Earth, because it would be ridiculous to have an actual tunnel going all the way to the core of the Earth. Godzilla creates his own with his atomic breath, and then Kong climbs up the hole.
I'm already ignoring the lava
of the Earth.
I'm already ignoring the lava part to go with Journey to the Center of the Earth over here.
It's also pure rock. There's no other caverns between Godzilla and the Hollow Earth.
Do you know how deep that is? How long that should take him?
Yeah,
but now it doesn't. Now the whole warp tunnel thing doesn't matter. We had to have the warp tunnel because it would take too long. Obviously.
No, Kong's just fast. He's a good climber.
This fucking movie.
No, like I said, this is where I lost my suspension of disbelief. It's like, you already set up the warp portals. Why is Godzilla creating his own tunnel to the Hollow Earth? And why is Kong climbing out of it?
I cannot tell you how relieved I am that eventually you broke.
This is the part that broke me. I was okay with everything else. This is the
I
part
was afraid
like,
you were going to be okay with everything, honestly.
This is the part where I was like, this is dumb. But then, Kayla, we get the Neon Kaiju battle in Hong Kong. Kong has his magic monkey axe, which, when Godzilla shoots his atomic breath into it, Kong can absorb the atomic breath into the axe, and it glows and it powers it up. He can shove the axe down Godzilla's throat when he tries to atomic breath.
That was really funny,
like he did in the original movie with the tree.
I know,
reference.
but when Godzilla opens his mouth and Kong just hits him with the butt of the axe into the back of his throat was hilarious, I will have to say.
We also get a great scene of Godzilla shooting his atomic breath, and Kong is hopping through Hong Kong, jumping off of buildings, trying to dodge the breath as it's arcing toward him. This is a good fight.
You know who else had a neon kaiju fight in Hong Kong?
Pacific Rim?
Yep.
Okay. So Team Podcast, they sneak through the Apex facility, and they get caught by some guards. And we have the scene with the CEO, so he could do a bad guy monologue. And Madison is like, but Godzilla left us in peace. I mean, he blows up some cities every now and then, and all that stuff, but it was probably because of your guys' fault.
It was provoked. Yeah. They keep telling us it was provoked because we're supposed to like Godzilla.
Because you guys are trying to create new energy infrastructure. Didn't you see the Millennium movies? Godzilla hates that. So
also, remember at the end of Godzilla King of the Monsters where they're like, wherever the kaiju are, it reverses global warming or whatever. Right? That's not touched on at all in this movie.
No. Climate change has been solved. Why do we need to touch on it?
Yeah. Also,
let's get rid of the kaiju now.
None of the other kaiju are mentioned in this movie.
They're off on their own monarch facilities.
Yeah.
We'll have the other Titans show up in the next movie, but we can't have.
I think it's just funny that Mothra was like, whatever.
Mothra's dead.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's right.
The larvae. Are there not larvae anymore?
No.
Okay, I've seen so many kaiju movies, they are beginning to blend together. I will be very honest with you.
How dare you know this?
I think I just kind of assumed that Mothra was fine.
Just listen. The Monsterverse is so good at bringing up past details you forgot about, and also remembering everything about how the world works, and not messing with any of the world building that they themselves set up. Back to the bare knuckle brawl in Hong Kong.
Oh.
Godzilla wears down Kong. He stomps on his chest. We get a moment where Godzilla and Kong scream in each other's faces. But it is this moment where Godzilla is stepping on Kong's chest, and very clearly Godzilla's like, I could waste you right now. I win. Yeah. And then Godzilla leaves. So we get the very clear Godzilla versus Kong. Godzilla wins. And I still
don't understand why Godzilla had to burrow through the earth to pick a fight with Kong.
We have the warp portals.
Did Godzilla sense that Kong had picked up the axe and was
Yes.
potentially going to challenge him? And he was like, no, I have to. Somehow
Nope,
he
that-
knew.
that's how he knows.
Somehow Palpatine returned.
Yeah, he felt Kong pick up the axe, and it's like, oh, someone has picked up the
can't let him get
ancestral magic
uppity.
monkey axe that I fought in the ancient times.
Could Kong not have...
Kayla, we have to move forward.
Whatever.
Mechagodzilla just activated.
Oh, God.
But the spirit of King Ghidorah, which is haunting the head, because that's how that works, possesses Mechagodzilla. It kills the CEO Simmons in his office. It kills Ren Sarazawa in his psionic uplink chair before we can have anything to do with his incredibly compelling character concept that we do not talk about. And then Godzilla fights Mechagodzilla. Yeah! So Gia, meanwhile, has a moment, feeling Kong's heartbeat. And the rest of Team Monarch use the power from their heave to kickstart Kong's heart. Kong's back in the game, and his shoulder's dislocated, and he relocates it by bashing himself against a building. It's really cool. We also get a moment where Madison calls her dad, and I'm reminded that her dad is just not in this movie.
Oh yeah, well he is in this movie, but he's not in this movie.
But it's like that also took me out of it. Like, hang on, wait, what? So anyway.
There is I feel like there's like a little moment at some point where he's like trying to get a hold of her. Like, I think he does call her at some point partway through the movie and is like, call me back. Like, where are you? What's going on? Blah, blah, blah. And meanwhile, she's like in a high-speed tunnel to Hong Kong.
Yeah. But Kyle Chandler does not do anything in this movie.
No, he does not.
No.
It is staggering.
Yeah, right? So Godzilla and Mechagodzilla beam clash, just like in the original movie. But Mechagodzilla's laser breath is stronger, and it's red, so it clashes against Godzilla's blue atomic breath. By the way, hang on, we got a comment at one point. What's the color of Godzilla's atomic breath in these Monsterverse movies?
Blue.
It's blue? Okay, all right. At one of the episodes, we got a comment of like, no, the atomic breath is green. Is Kevin colorblind? Folks, I am actually colorblind. Like, I've got one of those weird ones where it's small, but it comes up often enough for people to make fun of me for it.
It doesn't come up that often. You just happen to have picked minis that trigger it.
Yeah.
And that's where it comes up. But when we're playing D&D. But
But no,
I don't ever remember them being green. I thought they were always blue. Or
apparently sometimes they're green, sometimes they're blue.
Maybe that person's colorblind.
I don't know. But I can't trust it anymore. So
I'm pretty sure.
So
listen, I say it's always been blue, blah blah blah. And 5 minutes ago, I was like, wait, isn't Mothra's larva alive? So it's like my recollection of many of these movies is also not particularly trustworthy.
What's important is that Mechagodzilla is winning the fight. He's literally throwing Godzilla around. And then, just before he can open up Godzilla's mouth and fire his laser breath into the mouth, just like Godzilla did with the Mutos in the 2014 movie, callback, Kong shows up to help. He jumps onto Mechagodzilla's back, and he starts beating him up. And then Godzilla and Kong team up to fight Mechagodzilla. Yeah!
Yeah, that's what it was always leading to. That's what all of these, like, versus fights are always leading to.
And you know what else was set up, and now we get the payoff? Bernie's dead wife flask of whiskey, because he's given up hope. He thinks they're all gonna die, and then Josh takes the dead wife flask and he pours it over the Apex computers. So Mechagodzilla is stunned. We have to set up the flask of whiskey, just like we had to set up the weird magnets in Godzilla for Terror of Mechagodzilla to break the computer systems instead of just bashing the screens in.
I mean, but they show that there's like a grate that protects it because bashing it in would be too simple. I feel like this also could have been achieved by having Millie Bobby Brown have her emotional support Hydro Flask covered in conspiracy theory Godzilla stickers.
Yeah.
That she's carrying with her a bunch of the time. Like, or somebody has like a cup of coffee that they have conviently left.
Yeah, we didn't have to set up the dead wife flask.
I don't know. It felt weird.
It's so weird.
If you were going to do it, it could have been done a little bit more seamlessly. Also, we don't know. Did she die in a Godzilla attack?
No, we do not know anything about Sarah besides that she is dead.
She is dead, and it gives our comedy character a layer of depth.
Yep.
Supposedly.
So Kong takes his magic monkey axe and he cuts Mechagodzilla to pieces before ripping his head off with his bare hands. The fight is over. The day is saved. Kong and Godzilla come to an understanding. And so I half expected them to do the Godzilla Jet Jaguar like handshake almost.
No, that's too silly, Kevin.
They're not friends. They still don't like each other.
No.
But they do like the little bro head nod.
They can't become friends until the next buddy cop movie.
Exactly. So Godzilla swims out into the sunrise. Kong now lives in Hollow Earth. Madison reunites with her dad and introduces him to Bernie. So the Titan Conspiracy podcast host now directly knows the director of Monarch, and that will mean nothing in the next movie. All right, absolutely nothing. Bernie Hayes will return in Godzilla X Kong New Empire.
Is Bernie the only one that's coming back?
No. Gia and Dr. Andrews and Bernie will come back. I do not believe Madison comes back, though.
Millie Bobby Brown is done with these movies.
Millie Bobby Brown is done with these movies. They don't bring back Kyle Chandler. I think it's just those three who come back.
I don't know that she had time, because after this, she filmed season 3 of Stranger Things and then immediately went into filming this movie.
Yeah.
And then Stranger Things season 4 filmed during the pandemic. Season 5 filmed after the strike. She wouldn't have been working during the strike, which was, what was it, like 6-7 months or something like that. And she had Electric State somewhere in there, and I think like 1 or 2 other Enola Holmes films. I can't remember the timeline on those. So I think she was a bit busy.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if they wanted her in the next one.
It would have been fun, but also the next one wouldn't have fit her character.
Yeah. I'm always curious. I mean, I don't know that yet because I haven't watched it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm a little sad that she won't be in the next one because I did enjoy her character in these movies. That's all.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's Godzilla vs. Kong. This was the big culmination of the Monsterverse. It made money. So they made more Monsterverse stuff. We have another Godzilla Kong movie that came out, New Empire. And then we're going to have another Godzilla Kong movie, Supernova. So this is no longer, they have their own franchises.
Yeah, now
and then
they're
maybe
together.
They'll appear. No, these are Godzilla Kong movies. They are buddy cops now.
Yep.
This movie is like, all right, they're rivals. They had their fight. Godzilla shows that he's top dog in a fight. But at the same time, as long as Kong is in Hollow Earth, and Godzilla's on the surface, then they're good. Ooh, I wonder if that might be a point of tension in the next movie.
Ooh.
But that is the status quo now. And Monarch now has access to the Hollow Earth. So like I said, infinite movie generator. Any monster can now come from the Hollow Earth and threaten the surface. So yeah, if you think about this movie at all while you're watching it, it starts to fall apart. Like I said, I broke at the Godzilla creates a tunnel to the center of the earth and Kong effortlessly climbs up it in a matter of minutes. You broke much earlier. But
yes, I did.
But I will say I'm glad this movie exists so that we have Godzilla X Kong New Empire, because I do like that movie.
Oh, God.
that the next movie is my favorite Monsterverse movie.
I am afraid. I won't lie. I am afraid.
All the dumb parts of this movie. Oh boy.
Oh,
boy.
I'm never gonna work at Legendary.
So Kayla, what would you rate this movie?
They're never gonna hire me. I don't want to talk about it. It's whatever. I don't care.
Kayla rates it whatever out of 5.
I've given up. I concede. I wave my white flag.
We did it, folks. We broke Kayla.
It only took.
It didn't take Son of Godzilla.
41 episodes. 41 episodes. Whatever. This is a submission display. Kill the engines.
Godzilla wins.
Take me out back. Toss me into the Godzilla atomic breath radiation teleportation portal to the bottom of the earth.
So what are we watching next?
Kevin says it's another anime, and I was like, I don't know, that last one wasn't so good. And he says, this one's good, but we'll fucking see.
This one's good because we get Jet Jaguar back.
Okay.
Jet Jaguar returns.
Sure. Okay. Next, we'll be watching episodes 1, 2, and 3 of the anime series Godzilla Singular Point. If you watched this podcast, be sure to subscribe, give us a rating, leave a comment, and share with a friend. Follow us on social media. We got the links in the show notes. We also have a Ko-fi. You can support us there and get access to cool bonus content like extra episodes and access to the private Discord where you can talk with other geeks about Godzilla and all things Digital Kaiju. Check it out. Gorilla Whale is a production of Digital Kaiju Studios. It is hosted and produced by Kevin Carpenter and Kayla Knutson. Gorilla Whale has no official affiliation with Toho, Legendary, or any other companies associated with the Godzilla franchise. We thank you for watching along with us. Until next time, watch out for kaiju.
Watch out for kaiju.
Well, actually, it's Titans.
Yeah, you're right. Watch out for Titans.
We're in the Monsterverse.
We're in the Monsterverse.
Watch out for Titans.
Well, we're going into the anime, and then we'll come back to the Monsterverse, and we also have to do Godzilla -1 at some point. We're
I
getting
just
there.
remembered, guys, there's really good movies in this franchise. Did you know? Did you know that some of these are worthy of Oscars?
But do they have the magic monkey axe?